There we go. How are we doing? We are doing great. Okay. If I could just get this thing to... There we go. A little sip of water before I start here. Alright. So, we're burning bad N64 games. Oh, I'm so sorry. 1 second. Ugh. That came without warning. Alright. Oh, you like that Halloween overlay? Yeah. Getting into the Halloween mood for sure. You know, just trying to think of ways to jazz up the stream, make it look welcoming, festive, fun, maybe show off my personality a little bit. So, first game on the list, South Park Rally. And thank you. I found this on Pixabay. Hopefully it doesn't get in the way too much. You were really busy lately, so you couldn't watch any streams. Hey man, you don't gotta justify yourself to me. Everybody's got lives and responsibilities and all that stuff. So let's talk about South Park Rally. Racing game for an N64 to capitalize on the popularity of the show. However, they went a little too they got a little too creative with creating a racing game. Instead of just copying the racing game formulas that worked, they decided to make like these enormous like explorable racing areas with like missions and stuff that made like doing any actual racing really difficult. Yeah, I played the shooter too, Fat Jedi. I actually liked it. I've heard that historically, like, the game was not well received, but I liked that game. I played through the whole thing as a teenager. And let's see. Oh, here's one. So if the exploration wasn't bad enough, it required you Samuel says, I remember whenever I had the busiest day, I saw you were doing my idea. I was really frustrated. Oh, so you weren't able to be around when I did the 10 games that disappointed me. Well, hopefully you still caught the replay. Even when the VODs disappear from Twitch, they're always over on the YouTube. Oh, let's put this over here. Where was I at? Oh yeah. So if the trash exploration aspect of the game, instead of just having a straightforward race, wasn't stupid enough, the game requires you to become in first place to advance. Okay? There's a lot of games where you can come in like usually like top 4, or sometimes it doesn't really matter. It just depending on the game, it like just determines like your starting place in the next race and how much money you win, and if the game you're playing has money and things like that. You don't have to come in first. But not this game. Nope. You have to come in first. So you either do a perfect run or you play the level again, which is frankly terrible. Oh, and if that weren't bad enough, the controls were also horribly broken. Gotta have that. So let's say goodbye to South Park Rally. Kickish. my gosh! I killed South Park Rally! You bastard! Thanks, Jedi Mama. Much appreciated. I also played through the Stick of Truth. Good game. But, if you have, fragile sensibilities, that is not the game for you. There were some times where I was playing it, my wife had to leave the room. She has fragile sensibilities. Never did play the Fractured Butthole, though. Moving on! Earthworm Jim 3D. So let's see. Oh, I know one thing. Where's that thing at? There we go. Got ourselves a worm. And wait, where's my pixels at? There we go. Super. So let's talk about Earthworm Jim 3D. So who played any of the Earthworm Jim games for Super NES or Sega Genesis? I remember playing the first one with my brother way back in the day. Feels weird to be 37 but saying back in the day. Back before the internet. There was no such thing as downloadable content. There was no such thing as patches and updates. There was only the game. And if the game was terrible and broken, it was always terrible and broken. All the children around a campfire go, So let's see. Earthworm Jim 3D. Despite, now, the 2D ones for console were considered great games. You know, classic hero. And from what I learned, Earthworm Jim was actually invented by like an 8-year-old kid from Texas. So, there's that. Then he moved on to 3 Dimensions, and then, like, when N64 and like PlayStation came out, it was like 2D games, like 2D platforms and stuff like that, you know, your traditional Marios and everything like that, just seemed to become obsolete for a while. Like, everything had to go 3D. And sometimes it worked out. Mario 64, masterpiece. Ocarina of Time, fantastic game. Its graphics didn't age quite as well, but great game nonetheless. But then Earthworm Jim, the sentiment largely was that the beloved characters of Earthworm Jim's universe did not translate very well to 3D. And that was a leading sentiment. As for technical issues, it had remarkably mediocre gameplay, which is inexcusable for a well-known hero from a well-known action platforming franchise. Oh, and this game was made by Rockstar. How could Rockstar mess up an action game? They must have still been finding their feet back then, in the mid-90s. Oh, and most notable, one of the most atrociously broken cameras in all of video game history. Like, so broken that you're like fighting the camera and you can never center the camera behind Earthworm Jim. And it's considered borderline unplayable because of that. So, let's actually, I guess that's you sitting in front of your fire. So let's all say goodbye to Earthworm Jim. Plasma! Bye-bye, Jim. Super. Next game on the list. Okay. Ooh. Clay Fighter 63 and a third. So, since it's a fighting game, let's bring out our fighting game roster. Doop 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 doop. Can I put rings in Superman 64? If I have something that works for that. I don't really think I have anything that's made out of clay that I could... Maybe I have something made out of ceramic. Wait, yeah. There we go. Fragile china. Perfect. So let's talk about Clay Fighter 63 and a third. Oh, it was made by Interplay. So, one of the most atrocious things that people would have noted first here is that the game uses sprite graphics instead of like 3D rendered vector graphics, as what so many N64 games were known for. So while the characters seem to look less polygonal, people complained that at the same time that the graphics didn't look as cutting edge. So, you know, you can never make anyone happy. Oh, the games look too polygonal. Ew. Oh, you use sprite graphics? That's all. Where's the updated graphics? You know, people always gonna find something to complain about.
Oh boy. Ahoy.
So let's talk about the. So this game suffered also from really terrible AI.
I'm so pretty.
Like, apparently the AI was such that the game was either the game was pretty much a cakewalk, and the AI did like really stupid things, nonsensical things. And bad animation, despite having sprite graphics, the animation was very poor. And their combo system for pulling off different moves was apparently difficult. I don't know why they didn't just copy Street Fighter. All the moves in that game are very straightforward. So, let's see. How do we want to start this off? The beauty. The beauty. And that whole title just seemed odd. 63 and a third. It seems like they were kind of biting off Naked Gun 33 and a third. Alright, next game on the list. Oh, here's this one. Ooh, boy. Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero. We want this one to be nice and frosty. Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero. Oh, that's awesome. See, that's how the cover should have come when the game was released. So let's talk about Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. This was a game that Angry Video Game Nerd actually covered. So I have a little more knowledge of it than some of these other games that I've researched, and some of which I didn't even know existed until I researched them for this video. But apparently it's exploring. It's like, if you ever played a Mortal Kombat game, it's a traditional 2D fighter. One screen, and you fight. This game, it has RPG elements and exploration. So you're Sub-Zero and you're running all over the place through these dungeons and different levels. And apparently the exploration is frustrating, partially because there's like traps that you have to be some sort of maneuverability wizard to get past without getting crushed constantly, or crushed or thrown, or whatever the case may be in terms of the traps. And apparently, despite using the sort of motion capture that Mortal Kombat was known for, apparently the animation in this game was considered to be extremely rigid. Probably because the makers of the game weren't quite used to working with the N64 yet. Who knows? Here's one big problem for a fighting game. You have enemies sometimes coming at you from both directions. That wouldn't normally be an issue, except you only face one direction at a time, obviously, and you have to manually turn around. Even if you're only fighting one person, if you jump over them, you're still going to be facing the opposite direction, and you have to physically hit the button to turn and face your opponent to fight them. That was considered a pain in the neck. And despite the huge amount of lore and the size of the world that Mortal Kombat had built by this time, there was an extremely limited roster of enemies in the game. So the combat, even if you managed to get the combat system down, felt very one-note. And there was platforming elements too, where you have to jump over gaps and land on other platforms, or like moving platforms and things. And apparently the platforming was very broken and required, in the case of moving platforms, required timing that was entirely too precise. Now, this is an ice bomb, but everything's already frozen. Let's burn the snow globe. That makes everything frosty. Let's burn the cloud. Let's burn the dry ice. And let's burn Sub-Zero. Toasty! Little Inferno wins. Fatality. Burn up. Jeez. While that smolders, I'll buy the next game on the list. Oh boy. Woo! Where's it at? How do I wanna... Sure. I'm so happy that I figured out how to turn off that music. The next game on the list is Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. Oh, sure. Power Rangers always had giant monsters in it. Let's talk about Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. So, this game. This was another one the Angry Video Game Nerd covered. Super ugly graphics. I didn't read that anywhere. A lot of these notes, I just go through reviews and things like that and jot down the things that I think are the most egregious and the best to talk about. This one I wrote down myself because I've seen gameplay of it and it's terrible. Super ugly graphics. Okay? Very poorly done soundtrack, and as highlighted in the Angry Nerds video, they didn't figure out how to make the music loop. They have this very boring music track that it just kind of fades out and stops, and then abruptly starts again. Okay, so bad soundtrack, yep. And yeah, and the music itself was kind of, even without not knowing how to make it loop, very dull, repetitive gameplay. You're going through the same types of levels the whole time. There's a level where you're running around beating enemies. There's one where you're driving, and then there's a third type. I didn't even bother to remember. But like the whole game is a cycle of you doing those three types of levels. It's completely monotonous, repetitive, and boring. Oh yeah, I wrote the word boring 3 times. Yeah, because if you see gameplay of it, you will understand. Boring, boring, boring. Oh. They've got a power and a force that you've never seen before. They've got the ability to morph and to even up the score. No one will ever take them down. The power lies on their side. Go, go, Power Rangers. Go, go, Power Rangers. Go, go, Power Rangers. You mediocre Lightspeed Rangers. Next game on the list. Oh, well, this one should draw some attention. So, let's get all the munitions out for this baby. Sure, we'll get the nuke. Oh, gotta get the exterminator. Yeah, sure, let's get that. One of these. Oh yeah, why not? Sure. Hey. Next game, Dai Katana. Now, If you never heard of this one, you might think you're living under a rock. But to quote James Rolfe, it's a rock worth living under. So, Dai Katana was this sort of like shooter game that it was supposed to be. Apparently, there was some hype regarding it, but there were several years of delays, and by the time it came out, it was no longer considered cutting edge, and it was outmoded by games like Quake 3 Arena and Unreal Tournament. And if that wasn't enough, there was apparently artificially limited saving. So I think it was that well, I don't know if it was a limitation in the N64 or if they intentionally did it that way, but apparently you couldn't have as many saves as you want. Which, okay, you know, the N64 might require like those memory cards that you'd slip in the bottom of the controller, but still. There's no reason not to give the player an ample amount of saves. My wife's sending me pictures of my kids asleep. There we go. Uh-oh. Well, that didn't go quite the way I imagined it, but I imagine there's more than a few people that would like to do that to their copy of the game they paid $50 for, so we'll go with it. Dai Katana. So, yeah, outmoded by Quake and Unreal Tournament, so by the time it came out, there was just objectively better stuff to play. Limited saving, and apparently the game gave you these, like, AI sidekicks, but apparently they're so broken, they're more of a hindrance than they are of a help. Kind of like the AI second player in Uncanny X-Men on NES, where your computer-controlled companion just is a complete waste. Next game on the list. Oh. The next game on the list is Hey You Pikachu. Let's get all the happy things. This is a happy game, right? Oh, Feelings Bear plushie. Oh, that's all the nice little thingies. Let's see, what else can we get? Look at the big, happy, smiling meat boy. And let's see. Ooh, do we have a, I don't think we have anything that has a microphone on it. Oops. Oh, well, the phone has a microphone on it. Let's get one of those Johns. Here we go. So let's talk about Hey You Pikachu. This game came with a voice recognition module that you strap on to your controller and plug into the fourth controller slot on the N64. But here are some problems with the game. It was visually unimpressive. In fact, I don't think any of the Pokemon games that came out for N64 were particularly known for their overwhelming graphical fidelity. There was Pokemon Stadium, and I honestly don't remember a single person who ever played it. So also, for the voice recognition, depending on how deep your voice was, it may have been hit or miss, because apparently the technology was more calibrated towards recognizing like the high-pitched voices of kids, which is understandable. But I mean, by this time, there would have been plenty of like older people that liked Pokemon. I mean, I got into Pokemon in 1998 and I was already 15 years old. So, well, goodbye, Butterfree. And let's see, what was that? Oh, and extremely shallow gameplay. Apparently, like, you go through days, you say good morning to Pikachu, and then you go on your little adventures. But like the gameplay itself is like nothing to write home about. Now, I will say, like, this is one of the games where, despite it being on this list, given to me by Kieran Callahan on the YouTube end, there's crap of people who do actually like this game. Like, the game did get some positive reviews from a few outlets. But I guess your experience was either made or broken by your ability to properly get Pikachu to do what you need him to do. Apparently, he was programmed to recognize like 200 words and phrases. But like I said, like if you couldn't get it to recognize your voice, like you might have to intentionally like make your voice squeaky or something. Hey, you Pikachu! Like, well, who wants to sit around and do that for 2 hours? I don't. So,
we're sorry.
Little Inferno, I choose you. Use flamethrower. Nice and hot. Next game. Okay. Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. So let's see. Batman's known for having gadgets. And do we have anyone who works as the Joker? Honestly, the Leprechaun looks more like the Riddler. Alright, let's get the Exterminator. He's green and purple, just like the Joker's colors. And then we'll throw in some gadgets. Grab ourselves another phone. And... Sure. Bear trap. I'm sure Batman's used trap gadgets sometime in the past. I'm not like a huge Batman guy, so... Handheld fireplace, gaming tablet, and a camera. There we go. Smoosh, 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 smoosh. So apparently there was also a movie of this. Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. Don't really know how the movie did. But the game was not well received. Let's talk about why. You have effectively one-dimensional combat. And when I say effectively one-dimensional, apparently you're given a litany of Batman gadgets to use, but absolutely none of them are as effective as your punches and kicks. So even if you have some gadget that like blasts a hole through enemies or something, I mean, Batman's not really known for using guns, but work with me on this example. Even if you have something that's like conceptually should do stupid damage to an enemy, it's not going to be as strong as your punch or kick. Which inadvertently made the gameplay one-dimensional, because you can go through the whole game without using your gadgets for combat, except like in very special situations that might require it. And oh yeah, very poor variation in the level design. All the levels are very mediocre, one note, nothing too special about them. Very bland, undetailed visuals. Gotta have that in a bad game. Oh, and here's the biggest problem. No voice work. At all. None. There's like noises for like punching and kicking and like explosions and stuff. No voice work. So you won't, all the cutscenes are done through text. Now, I know the N64 was still a console-based, not a console-based, cartridge-based console. But I mean, if they could make Mario's voice sound amazing on N64, why couldn't they do the same thing in Batman for Terry McGinnis? It's just inexcusable. And apparently, the same music plays throughout the whole game. So let's treat him the way the Joker would. A little song, a little dance, Batman's head on a lance. What do you know about? Man, I love the Exterminator in this game. Amazing. Until I call upon you again, friend. Oh, you like that one, Fat Jedi? Much appreciated. Next game. Oh, we're getting up to the top 2 here. Oh boy. Okay. Where's the Carmageddon 64? So, you know, we got to bring out the vehicles for this one. And one other special type of... Yeah, sure, why not? You played Carmageddon 64? Well, let's see if my notes are congruent with your memories. So, starting off, sloppy controls. Gotta have that in a great driving game. No drifting. Gotta have that in a great driving game. I mean, for crying out loud, you could drift in the original Mario Kart. There's no excuse not to have drifting in any racing game from the 90s on up. Apparently very weak AI. Like sometimes it was actually... I read that it's actually possible to see the AI drive off of a cliff. Because there's like no pathfinding or advanced ability for avoiding hazards. But it can also be difficult to strike opponents without taking damage yourself. So while the AI is weak, it doesn't necessarily make your job a whole lot easier in terms of wasting your opponents. Because you can still take big damage. Because there's also not enough power-ups in order to use against your opponent. So a lot of the times you're stuck with ramming. They would drive off the course all the time. Okay. The maps were over large, so it was easy to get lost. And if that weren't bad enough, there's time limits. Gotta have that. especially with all the other stuff. Because apparently the races become progressively longer as you go throughout the game. Like, they add, like, one more lap each time, from what I read. So it gets progressively harder to actually finish races. You got lost all the time, could never figure out where you were going. Yep, that's congruent with my notes. And, of course, poor graphics. Gotta have that. And unbalanced physics. Apparently you could, like, there were areas in the game where you could drive, like, up sheer cliffs or even drive upside down. Yeah, clearly whoever worked on Carmageddon did not put time and care into it. Oh yeah, and the game had zombies. Let's say goodbye to Carmageddon 64. So many zombies. And so you've witnessed being able to drive upside down and up the sides of cliffs and stuff like that? You did that. All right. Wrong button. We've come to the crowning jewel of bad games. Superman 64. A candidate, quite possibly, for worst game ever made. Some people are like, well, it's not that bad of a game. I don't know who says that, but they should be examined by a doctor. Played it 10 minutes and took it back, huh? I don't blame you. I don't blame you. So let's talk about Superman on the Nintendo 64. Now, it's funny, people call it Superman 64 even though the game's just called Superman. Oh yeah, that's the first thing I wrote. Literally one of the worst games ever made. Janky controls. And, ooh. This is another one the nerd covered. And covered in detail, because he made 2 different videos about it. Because apparently, eventually you do stop flying through rings and actually do more Supermanly things. But here's the problem. The janky controls aren't just for flight. They're like for everything. Where are we at? Remarkable poor variation in the level design. Yep. Because for the majority of the first part of the game, you're flying through rings, and that's it. You fly through rings, you do a quick little, you know, stop the car from hitting the people. Or stop the car from getting in an accident. Pick up the car and, you know, and then you fly through rings. But the instructions flash on the screen really fast, and you can't figure out what you're supposed to do. This is one of those games where you'd feel ripped off even if you just rented it. And so apparently there were also issues with the camera. Oh. Which seems to be a problem in a lot of bad games. Poor draw distance and distance fog. So you had a limited ability to see things that were on the horizon. And apparently, like, even when you get to the levels where you're actually, like, punching people and, like, fighting bad guys, like, the punchers are, like, really awkward and kind of derpy looking. And apparently there's a lot of, like, there's places where you can get stuck on the scenery, and there's texture clipping. Like, everything that you can imagine could be wrong with the game, this game has wrong. So let's see. Yeah, there's that. That one. Now. Do I have anything that mimics a gun? I do not believe I do. Not that I can remember. This is unfortunate. That's okay, I'll just work with this. Oh, come on. Oh, for the love of... That's not what I wanted to do. Alright, let's try this again, eh? We will not be denied our proper send-off. So, while that's going on, I'll... Per Kieran's request, I will put together our... obstacle course of rings, since that's the majority of what you do in this game. Flying through rings. There we go. That's the best I can do. I hope you're happy with it. So, faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a bad game. Oh, you know what? I missed the boat. I should have done it to make green fire to make it look like kryptonite. Oh well. I mean, that whole game is kryptonite. Let's just face it. All right. That is the end of the list, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. So, I'm going to take a short break. Well, short-ish. It's just after 2 where I am. So, I'm going to get a drink, set things up, and we're going to come back with a little Phantasy Star 3, little retro RPG Sega flavor for you. You feel better now? Glad to hear it. So, for all of you out there in viewer land, whether you were watching this live or you're watching this on a replay, thanks for joining me for this festive barbecue. I've got many more lists coming, so stay tuned for many more game barbecues. And I can talk, I swear. Adjust my teeth. Gonna come back in just a little bit with some Phantasy Star 3. So take care out there. If you're coming back for Phantasy Star 3, I'll see you